Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful November 26, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we're just rolling out of a vegetative state of too much football down here this past weekend. You talk about some excitement, some games going too long, and, games. What I saw with LSU and Texas A&M, Charlton, I've never seen that before.
No.
And I hope that the NCAA reels that in and put limitations on the time that they can force these young men to work for free.
Yep, that is free labor, Big C. Like back in the days, antebellum days, they did a lot of things. It's all fair in the sports universe. I have so much tryptophan in me. I felt myself taking a nap. I'm like, why am I taking a nap? It's almost evening time. It's about time to have dinner. But I had a lot of good times over the holidays, seeing family and just enjoying things that are important. I even got the chance to follow up on some football, some basketball going on in the sports universe. A lot of things are happening, Big C. But, it's also the holidays. And before I say that, I want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I just want people to realize this is America. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And beware of hucksters for this holiday. There's a lot of holiday scams going on. Some good old boy told me, man, if you just give me $500, I can make you rich, okay? I said, how you going to make me rich? He said, don't ask so many questions, just give me the $500, Big C. And so I didn't give it to him. And would you believe he called me a blickety blankety blank? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as you say, there's people that's looking out there. And, in society today, everybody wants to get instant gratification. I think that's the bill of goods that our administration sold on this country. And when you talk about people making it good and making it quick, I want to think about 8 years ago in this country, Charlton. We had a president that bailed out the auto industry.
Sure did.
And he got so much flack from his opposing party, from the Republican Party. Talking about how could he do that? Even a guy that was running against him for president said, just let the auto industry fail.
Sure did.
And I think that came because his dad had failed in the auto industry, so he wanted the rest of the auto industry to go by the wayside. But President Obama didn't feel that way. He felt that saving America's jobs, America's economy, was worthwhile to keep people employed, not on the unemployment line, Charlton, to keep that pride in those individuals who had those jobs. So he bailed out the auto industry. We have a current administration today, Charlton, that promised in the state of Ohio and in the state of Michigan that he was going to bring even more jobs back to the auto industry, Charlton. Today, GM Motors closed 5 plants in Michigan and Ohio.
Wow.
5 plants. So when people think about, say, well, the economy is great. It is in certain sectors for executives who are making money. But when GM Motors closes down 5 plants, and that's part of us, Charlton, with Cadillac. GM is Cadillac. And so when you think about that, and this president says, no, I'm going to improve the auto industry. When you cut deregulations in America, people need to understand that when you cut deregulations, economy cars go by the wayside.
They sure do.
And all the auto industry started making economy cars that were fuel efficient. When he cut deregulation, saying you no longer needed to do that, those cars go away. And so when people think, well, we're looking at this employment that's constantly going up, you think about right before Christmas, up in the northeast part of this United States, a place that had been so hard hit by economic plight for decades, that today 15,000 people lost their jobs. That's today, and it's going to be even more as the months go on, Charlton.
Yes, part of Make America Great Again. Also in the mortgage industry, There's a lot of those loans are coming back where all you got to do is fog up a mirror and they'll give you a loan and et cetera. So that's what's happening when you get rid of Dodd-Frank, and that's what the Trump administration has done. But again, Google everything. That's what the universe says. Google everything. And when someone calls you a blippity blip or a blankety blank because you ask them how they're going to make you rich, just turn the other cheek and walk away, Big C. A lot happening in the sports universe. You know, I first want to go up. I want to say to our friends up north, oh, Canada, a home and native land. I want to congratulate the 106th Grey Cup champion, the Calgary Stampeders, 27. The Ottawa Red Blacks are 16. And what a game that was played up in Canada, their version of the Super Bowl. 106 plays of their what's called the Grey Cup, Big C. The Super Bowl is coming up on Super Bowl 53. The CFL is twice the age of the NFL Super Bowl, Big C. Yet a lot of times people don't realize that sport has been around a lot longer than the United States. And hearing some of the broadcasters say it's the greatest sports ever, well, based on number, it has been around longer than the NFL version. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, anything that can survive longer than a century. I mean, we think of college football being around more than 100 years, and you talk about the Canadian Football League being around over 100 years, celebrating their 106th championship.
Yep.
And I'm going to assume that it was cold, and I guess that's why the cold is down here today. I guess everybody was cheering so loud and jumping up north there, Charlton, that they pushed all that cold air down here today. And so they got me suffering. So I congratulate them, but I'm a little ticked off at them also, Charlton. They could have kept that cold air out there, but, you know, to celebrate and to have such a festive event to last for over 100 years, Charlton. You know, you think about all the time and the players that have been involved in that, and we talked about some of the quarterbacks, Charlton, that have played up there in those Grey Cups and have come down here to the United States. We talked about Joe Kapp, who quarterbacked the Minnesota Vikings in the '69 Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, we talked about Warren Moon, who did not make a Super Bowl, but he won 5 championships in Canada. Doug Flutie won 5 championships in Canada also, Charlton. Joe Theismann, you know, quarterback
for the Redskins,
the Washington Redskins, to a victory over the Miami Dolphins down in Pasadena in the Super Bowl, Charlton. So there's been a long and illustrious line of quarterbacks. I believe there was an Eric Kramer also who played with the Detroit Lions, and Adita Brock, who played against the Bears in that when they had that Super Bowl shuffle team, the 85 Bears. So there's been a long line of quarterbacks.
Vince Ferragamo for the Rams. Vince Ferragamo for the Rams also in the Super Bowl.
Also went north of the border, Charlton, and played with Montreal after the Rams had gone to the Super Bowl in 1979. So there's been a crisscrossing of quarterbacks. We talk about coaches, Marv Levy, you know, who took the Bills to 4 Super Bowls. Bud Grant, who took the Vikings to 4 Super Bowls. So when you think about the second most appearances in Super Bowls from head coaches, Charlton, both of those guys coached in Canada, even though they never hoisted the Vince Lombardi trophy. But 4 times they were able to take teams to the Super Bowl here in the United States and compete for that championship.
I agree, Big C. And you know, another thing I noticed too is kind of a social thing. We talk about social equality and social justice. Now, last I checked, the United States of America is a very diverse country. Canada is not as diverse as the United States, but they never had the racism and the Jim Crow. When I was watching the game up in Canada, the Grey Cup, when I saw the report, the post-game show, they had 5 men broadcasting. 5 were African American, I say maybe Canadian Africans, and then there were 2, you know, Caucasian Canadians. Oftentimes, you wouldn't hear about that even in the NFL. I know things have changed in the United States of America, but most of the time they'll have maybe 1 or 2 African Americans and the rest are Caucasian, especially when it comes to sideline reporting. I know we talk about diversity and equality here, but Canada, to have fewer minorities in Canada than they do mainstream in Canada, but they're so equal when it comes to giving people opportunity to work in broadcast. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the Super Bowls that have been broadcast here in America, when was the last time you saw an African-American commentator during the Super Bowl? I'm talking about an analyst. You don't get them.
You don't.
I mean, Brian Gumbel has done a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's been limited to that. Brian Gumbel doing a Super Bowl for us from the minority perspective.
Yeah.
But when it comes to game analysts, we get no minorities that have the ability to analyze a Super Bowl. And I'm being realistic about that. You think about it, as many minorities play in the Super Bowl that provide you with the greatest entertainment that you've ever had in your life. And so many of them have been robbed of the MVP. You think about Terrell Davis.
Yeah.
200 yards rushing, robbed of the MVP, gave it to John Elway.
In 3 quarters. He had a migraine for 1 quarter, 200 yards in 3 quarters, Big C. And still no MVP.
You think about those great catches from Manningham and Tyree and touchdown receptions from Plexico Burress for the Giants.
Yep.
None of these players received consideration for the MVP. You look at Von Miller for the Denver Broncos, who just annihilated the Carolina offense single-handedly.
Yeah.
No consideration. Anderson was the leading rusher in the game.
Yeah.
No consideration for MVP, but you gave it to a quarterback who had the worst performance in Super Bowl history because you wanted him to go out as a legacy.
Yeah.
So when you think about how minorities have been, you know, basically stolen from, even in athletics.
Yeah.
They get stolen from, even in modern time. When you say, well, it's a team game, give it to the team player that assists the team the most in winning those victories, Charles.
Yeah.
Don't say, hey, we're going political on this, and it looks good to have this guy go out with this on top. It's not right.
Yep, I agree. Sometimes just let the people who can do the job have the opportunity. It's just opportunity. Just like Big C Sports, we wouldn't get on with mainstream. We want to dominate mainstream. We don't care to go backwards in time and become ancillary. We want to speak from the hip, extemporaneous speaking. That's why oftentimes what we say on Big C Sports, you'll hear it soon on the mainstream networks. Big C, I want to also just say one more thing to that matter. I think it's so important that if people want to be something, just go out and do it. Don't wait for mainstream to say, okay, we're ready for you now. In everything in this country that's ever been done by people of color, no one's given us anything. You have to go take it. You have to go make it happen. You have to march. You have to learn the law. You got to do whatever it takes. You didn't become ancillary to get it. You were the vanguards. And what I noticed about Canada, some of the Canadian broadcasters, and this is just my own speaking from the heart, they didn't have any buffoons. There were no buffoonish guys being a caricature that you see propped on a mainstream, but hey, this is what black guys are like. So they get guys arguing about who the best football player is as if their life depends on that Big C. I think that's a shame because we refuse to do that. But it was just, to me, it was refreshing to see that guys could actually talk about, you know, the sport Big C and not worry about if they were going to be accepted by mainstream. Mainstream copied them. That make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, it's so important to be able to go out and give the viewing audience the truth. And so often it's not given any longer, Charlton. It's about creating a facade. You got to make somebody look good regardless of how bad they are.
Yeah.
You got to cover for them. And you almost like calling the audience dumb. You know, you know, I'll take it back to a point of history in America, Charlton, that wasn't good for anybody. The Rodney King beating in Southern California.
Yeah.
Well, when everybody witnessed this videotape, and you had the media and mainstream police saying he had to have done something wrong to have warranted that.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't have just did that, you know,
because they're evil. Right.
Even though he was laying down on the street and wasn't resisting, other than moving from being hit and tased.
Yeah.
They were saying, well, we didn't see what happened prior to that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened prior to that, we saw what was going on during that. If somebody had ran over a dog on the street, Charlton, everybody would have stopped and assisted that dog.
Yeah.
If somebody had been beating that dog on the street, everybody would have stopped to stop that person from beating the dog.
Yeah.
Ask Michael Vick.
Yeah.
He went to prison for dogs.
And got a job.
a black person went to prison for dogs.
Yeah.
Nobody had a problem convicting Michael Vick for beating dogs.
No.
But mainstream have a problem with convicting someone for beating a black person.
Yeah, and that's true, and give the man a job. Everybody has a right to repent, etc., but that's just interesting. The Underground Railroad led a lot of African Americans to Canada. Harriet Tubman, a lot of people escaped to Canada. And just to see how Canada is more advanced socially when they make sure they have national medicine. I know some people say, wait a minute, you got to wait in line a long time. Well, at the end of that wait, you get some help as opposed to being told, do you have insurance? No. Okay, well, we got to send you to the general hospital. You might wait a couple of days, Big C. I just think that sometimes we can learn from our neighbors. And to me, as an African American, I'm very learned, erudite man. I love seeing guys on TV who are talking about the game, and they're not trying to insult each other. There's some mainstream shows. They have a segment where a black guy tears down black guy, and the people say, "Yeah, that's what America wants to see." Big C, that's a joke. Big C, your thoughts?
Oh, Jonathan, it's amazing what people have to do to maintain employment. And it's scripted as far as that goes, but why do you put them in that position?
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't have to do that just to maintain employment. It shouldn't be a Stephen Fessett show.
No.
Anytime somebody wants to feed their children, feed their family, pay their mortgage, it shouldn't be. You should be treated with professional courtesy. Just like watching a news broadcast. You see the anchor and the broadcast, it's professional courtesy. They respect each other's segment.
Yeah.
But to be on a sports show, you can't always make somebody be the joke of the program.
You know,
if you sit up and you watch a group of white broadcasters, Charlton, no one becomes the brunt of the joke.
No.
During that segment, it just doesn't happen. But whenever there's a minority on a program, you have to make them the brunt of a joke somewhere. And I haven't understood the writing of these producers and directors, why that's necessitated.
Yeah.
Let them use their expertise as far as their insight on the game. The viewing audience will respect them for that also.
Yeah. Well, some people have become famous for being the angry black man, and they pop them up as if this is what they're like. I just think that's a joke. I do want to talk about something in the world before we get on some more football. Again, to Canada, congratulations, 106 Grey Cups. I hope with the state of the NFL, and they've made it without the scandal of the CTE and all that stuff. I know it happens in all leagues, but they've made it through some tough times up in Canada, and hopefully the United States National Football League can figure out the same thing. Big C, I want to get on a little bit before we get on some NFL and some college sports. Tiger and Phil, I think, and this is just my opinion, these are two great golfers, kind of I would say iconic golfers for the last 20 years, Tiger and Phil. They're better when they're not staging a win for Phil Mickelson. They went 22 holes. Phil got the $9 million. I guess he needed the money. And then because I guess they don't understand sensitivity in the world of holidays where some people just got burned out, lost everything in California. No home, no job, no car, no food, no anything. They have a box of money on a stage of $9 million to show people what it looks like, even though they may have lost everything. Look what we got. I think that's highly insensitive from two men who should know better, Big C. In the networks, the mothership propped it up that way. Last thing I'll say before I get your thoughts, you got a winner take all $9 million. But we know it was staged, and it helped mainstream feel better that a guy who doesn't have as many majors won against a guy with the second most majors in the history of the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about the flamboyancy of money that's paraded out there in the sports world, when you have so many people suffering hardships during the holiday time, and it's not just during holiday, Charlton, it's every day. When you wave the wand and say, hey, here's instant riches, more money than people will see in a lifetime. You know, I beckon the fires in Northern and Southern California, Charlton, just like those people up in Ohio and Michigan that got those pink slips today.
Yeah.
You know, that lost their job. Because of what? Because you have a showboating president.
Make America great again.
Bragging about what he's doing. And this is not the first evidence, Charlton. You think about it, you and I have talked about retail stores closing in America.
Yeah.
Sears, you know, Toys R Us, most other franchises, Charlton, reducing the number of outlets. JCPenney, not having stores anymore. And every time one of these stores close, is that there's somebody that no longer going to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And they voted for this man because he said he was going to make America great again.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about 200 or 300 jobs at a time. And I want people to go back to his presidency when he was elected. Whether you remember it or not, when there was a Courier air conditioning up in Ohio that was leaving going to Mexico.
Yeah.
They had already built the plant down there. He gave them a $7.5 million tax break. But they only kept 750 jobs. And now, I'm not good at math. I'm not very intelligent. But I'm trying to figure out, you got $7.5 million. You kept 750 employees. What type of salary are you giving them?
Yeah.
Are you paying them wages or you give them a salary?
Yeah.
Because $750 million will go a long ways, Charlton.
Yeah.
For a long time. So when these people that voted for him up in Michigan and Detroit, it's going to make America great again.
Yeah.
But they couldn't even solve the water problem up in Flint, Michigan, Charlton.
No.
Okay? People drinking lead. American citizens drinking lead up in Flint, Michigan. Has the president ever spoken on that, Charlton?
No.
So as people want to vote for this man that said he's making America great, call one of your countrymen in Flint, Michigan, a United States citizen, and ask them, are they still drinking lead-laced water in that city if they drink from the city's water system? So when we look at deploying, several thousand troops to the Mexican border for the holidays, Charlton, American troops, at over $100 million in expenses, ask how much of that $100 million would improve the water system in Flint, Michigan. As Americans said, we want to protect our borders. We can't even keep our own people safe from poison and disease in this country, Charles.
Yeah.
That's where that money should have gone. If you're an American and you're talking about, well, we got to protect our border, we got to protect against 2,500 people trying to come into America. How many thousands of people live in Flint, Michigan that can't get safe drinking water, but we would spend $100 million, Charlton, on the border for no reason.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Big C. We all know it's important to talk about it because they follow sports too. We just saw Detroit play in the Thanksgiving Day game up in Detroit, and I think they were playing the Chicago Bears. But I want to finish up one more thing with Tiger and Phil, because I'm a big Tiger Woods guy. I'm not a fan, but I do appreciate excellence, and I've always liked the way he and Phil Mickelson competed. But this is where you have athletes that are intellectually vapid. Out here in California, when the Rams played the Chiefs down in L.A., they did a thing for the firefighters of the great United States of America, state of California, how a lot of those people lost homes too. And they put their lives on the line to go make sure that people could get safe. And unfortunately, fire destroys a lot of things. It doesn't care what color you are, doesn't care what neighborhood you live in, it just did it. But for those firemen and the people who were sitting there looking for entertainment, every athlete makes money, that's fine. But why would you have gobs and gobs of money sitting up on a stage to say, hey, look at me, look at what I just gave Phil Mickelson, and you're someone in LA or Northern California that was just displaced? I just think that's highly insensitive. I'm not saying that you give the money to charity, they have a right to keep it, but most people, when they sign a big contract, like Goodell makes $44 million, he doesn't put it in a plastic bag or see-through glass and put it on a stage for people to see. Big C, how insensitive are your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Phil Mickelson is a resident of Southern California. And you would hope that he has a heartstring to go out and assist those who lost so much that are not as fortunate as he is. And this is money that he would even get a tax write-off on, Charlton.
Yep.
But, you want to think about the good that people may have in them. I mean, everybody has good and everybody has bad in them. It's just there. It's an innate nature, that we all have.
Yeah.
But when you're in a situation like that where you can potentially benefit and help so many that are less fortunate at this time of the year, Charlton, that are so devastated and have lost everything.
Yeah.
I think it's becoming of all people, not just those who are very affluent, Charlton, financially, but all people. When you have the opportunity to help, some can help more than others.
Yeah.
I mean, we look around this country, and there's so many people with excessive waste that don't go out and help others. But when you advertise, I mean, it's the responsibility of the network also to be sensitive to what's going on. You can point the finger at the athletes, but the athletes didn't control the broadcast.
No, they didn't.
They didn't bring the money in. They didn't sit it there. The networks are in control of that.
Yeah.
So when the networks, you have to understand, networks like to broadcast negativity, Charles.
Yeah.
They will show a shot of the burned out people of Northern and Southern California, Then they'll show a shot of somebody getting $9 million.
Yeah.
So I look at it from a network's perspective more than I do from an athletic perspective.
Yeah.
They showed up because somebody gave them an opportunity to make $9 million.
Yep.
They didn't show up because they expected for the fires and the devastation to be there. But the network had been covering this, Charlton, for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Of the fire devastation. So it was becoming upon them to show sensitivity to those who have lived through devastation.
Yeah, I think things that and I mean, you just think about it. Hopefully, the people with the mothership read a book, grow a conscience, find out what's going on, put your head out of the sand. At least show somebody helping, not somebody pocketing $9 million. But see, I do want to cover on what happened in the world of the NFL. A lot of good things happening, especially as we run down the NFL. And then I want to close out today's show. I want to get your thoughts on this national championship setup. And before we even get into that, I want to congratulate Mater Dei High School of Southern California winning the Southern Section Championship. And now they've knocked off the number one team in the country, St. John Bosco of Bellflower, the only team that had beaten them in the last 2 years. And now they're ranked number one in the country. But high school football has its own politics. You know, politics happen in Texas. They have a school named Allen. They're undefeated, but they haven't played the schedule of Mater Dei. Mater Dei has knocked off the Florida champion in IMG Academy. They beat the Nevada champion in Bishop Gorman. And they've beaten some ranked teams that were nationally ranked in the Southern California playoffs. But we have Mater Dei Santa Ana. We have Allen, Texas. IMG Academy in Florida, St. John Bosco, Big C. The high school players, do they also fight? Do they care who's voted number one? They don't get any money anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think it's that pride that they have. They get these big, elaborate rings that they wear around now, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so many of those kids will never go on and play at the college level. Many will.
Yeah.
But, this is the height of many high school athletes' life, is to win a championship, because it's something that will resonate
forever.
With you forever. I mean, you think about how many people have won championships versus the number of people that have played on any level, Charlton.
Yeah.
High school, Pop Warner, college, professional. The championships are very limited.
Yep.
But they're lifelong cherishments that kids get an opportunity. Regardless of whether it's football, basketball, girls softball, girls basketball, volleyball, anything, swimming, golf, tennis, Charlton. For a young person to have that opportunity, they don't look at the next level. They look at the moment.
Yeah.
And because the moment for most of them is where it ends. And so to have that understanding and that appreciation of that accomplishment of all that work, because they work just as hard as everyone else, Charlton, to get to those championship levels. People don't often think about that. But, it's like when we look at a college team winning a championship, you see the guy that's throwing the football. You see the guy that's catching the football. You see the guy that's running the football on that Saturday afternoon, Charlton, when that championship is being played.
Yep.
But the players that you don't see are the scout team players, the players who practice all week, who help those starters become better.
Yeah.
And they never get any praise from a broadcaster on television.
No, they don't.
But, when you sit back and you wonder how did someone become so good, because there was someone pushing them in practice every day to allow them to get better on that college level, on that high school level.
Yeah.
That never got any credit, Charlton, that may only played 4 or 5 snaps all season long if they got that opportunity.
Yep.
And those are the heartstrings of all athletic programs, Charlton. Not the stars that you see out there taking the first snap of a contest, but it's the ones that are standing or sitting on the bench, Charlton, that allow those ones that are out there playing to be great.
That's a very good point, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Big C, we'll run down the NFL first, and then I'm going to get into college football and get your thoughts on what's going to happen in these championship games. I just looked to the weekend. A lot of good things happened over the weekend. And number one, the Buffalo Bills actually scored a touchdown. A couple of them beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are just on a downhill slump, 24-21. And I saw 2 quarterbacks that really did not play good football at all, but they're still getting NFL contracts. And I believe Bortles was 18. I think Fournette had 18 carries, 95 yards, but Bortles was 12 of 23, 2 picks, and 127 yards. And Allen was 8 of 19, 180 yards. And so Bortles has been benched today. and he's not going to start anymore this season. They haven't benched him for Cody Kessler for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Big C, your thoughts on that game?
Well, Charlton, that might be the end of his run in Jacksonville as a Jaguar, even though they signed him to a 3-year contract extension. But, you know, we constantly see every year in the NFL quarterbacks masquerading as NFL players.
Yeah.
You know, Blake Bortles has had ample opportunity. Number 1 overall pick in the draft a few years back, Charlton. Most have been the greatest thing coming out of college.
Yeah.
And he's been himself ever since he's been in the NFL, Charlton. He doesn't understand the game at this level. You look at Josh Allen. I mean, he's winning with smoke and mirrors. I don't think he's had a game that he's completed 50% of his passes.
No.
And you know, what you'll get from the mainstream broadcast companies is, well, you know, he's a young guy, he's learning the game. You said, your friends did, I know, Kiper and McShay.
No, not my friends.
He's the most talented quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
He had this big arm. Big arm, that means he's overthrowing people all the time.
Yeah.
And he's not completing 50% of his passes.
Yeah.
But this was a game, Charlton, that 2 teams going nowhere. So all this game was the loser getting a better draft pick.
Yep, I think that's very true. I got a statement to make because I think what a knucklehead thing by Baker Mayfield. The Browns get a win over Cincinnati, 35-20. And, you know, Baker had a good game. He was 19 of 26, 200, and I think he had 250 yards passing. But I got to get your thoughts. If you think about what he said, people are making an issue that he tried to show some disrespect to his former coach. But you can get targeted in this league by guys that don't appreciate that. Here's a guy, Baker Mayfield, that was running from the police just about a year ago. But mainstream media is saying, aren't you happy that he snubbed Hugh Jackson, his former coach, who offered to help get him drafted into the league? That most people, if you think Tom Brady would ever do that to Belichick, I think what a disgrace that Baker Mayfield, is that the leader of your organization to put a target on his chest because he's going to snub a guy to help him get drafted? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's been part of his character for years, you know, and people say, well, he has a chip on his shoulder because of what he's had to work through. I mean, he's been privileged. You think about the criminal activity that he had.
You running from the police.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
And you know, you think about, you compare it to a teammate that he had at Oklahoma, Charlton, Joe Mixon.
Yep.
Who got suspended for a year.
Sure did.
For an altercation that he was in.
What color was he?
Baker Mayfield missed no time.
What color is Joe Mixon?
The double standard that's out there between black and white athletes, Charlton. You know, if you get a black quarterback that's berating a coach or undermining a coach, whether he's current or former, Charlton,
yeah,
he'll be without a job.
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick never talked about any of the coaches that he dealt with. He never blasted Kelly, who benched him in San Francisco for playing Gabbard. He just sit there and waited. You know, he never said anything negative about Harbaugh.
No.
But, you know, he got a lot of flack from the media, and he still gets flack from the media.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield will be embraced, and when he goes out there and he does something off the field, Charlton, we'll see how the media reacts to him at that point the second time around.
Yeah, there's some knuckleheads in Northern California, in fact, on national TV saying, aren't you glad the way that he dissed his former coach? No, he just created a target on his chest for every time they play that team again. You don't think people take that disrespectful? You gave the man a chance, now he's going to act a butt? Okay, well, we'll see what happens. The Patriots 27, the Jets 13, and a lot of people are saying, well, Brady doesn't have it anymore, but as far as I know, I think they got the win 27-13 over the Jets, Big C.
Well, Charlton, he did what he was supposed to do. He rebounded from a horrible game against Tennessee and went out, as any professional quarterback should do, is go out the next game and play a better performance. And that's what he did. You know, he had his running back, Sonny Michel, back. They shut down this Jets offense that, you know, everyone talked about it and had Sam Darnold in the Hall of Fame saying he was going to be the next Brady.
Already, yeah.
They would be dominating.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady, you know, had some of his weapons back in this game, Gronkowski and Michelle Charlton. Gordon is getting better and better by the week. You know, they don't ask any more of him than what he wants that they can expect from him, Charlton. They don't ask him to be a superstar. The defense has responded. They shut down that Jets offense, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Patriots are going to win the NFC East.
Oh, yeah.
And so all the people who are out there saying that they don't look that good, go play against them.
Go play against them and find out. Michelle, what a great running back also. A big find coming in from Georgia. 21 carries, 133 yards. Brady was 21 of 31, 283. And then McCown was 20 6 of 45 with the pick, 276. Big C, the Eagles, man, they came back and they snapped the Giants' win streak because the Giants were rolling. I know they looked bad all season, 25-23. But you look at Eli, he put up good stats, Eli, for the game. 26 of 37. He had one pick and 297 yards. Wentz had 20 of 28, 238. But I really like what happened with Barkley, rushing 13 times. 101 yards. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he has been as advertised in the draft. Everyone said he was the best athlete available, Charlton. And he's lived up to that height of being drafted, where he was in the draft.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying the Giants should have took a quarterback? Possibly. But we see what has happened with the quarterbacks that were drafted this year. None of them will have a winning record. Saquon Barkley's not a quarterback, but statistically he'll have a better rookie year, Charlton, than any quarterback drafted.
Yeah, I really
like the Giants did hit a home run with that draft pick. Now they have to look at the next draft, Charlton, to see what they're going to do. Is it going to be quarterback or offensive line?
Yep, that's a very good point, Big C. The Buccaneers 27-9 over the 49ers in Tampa. And, what they're going to do with the quarterback, we don't know yet. But I know passing-wise, you look at Mullins, 18 of 32, 2 picks, 221. And then Winston was 29 of 38, 312 yards. Still, a lot of people don't like him for, because he's been a knucklehead, Big C. Maybe he can turn things around. But if you consider him and Baker Mayfield, they both are knuckleheads, and they both have had problems with law. One guy's being praised for showing up his coach. Another guy, they say, run him out of town. One's black, one's white. I'm just saying, you can Google that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is what we look at in the media, the biasness for what you want. You have to build up a guy to show everybody that they were right about what they said.
Yeah.
Prior to him playing. When you evaluate things a year from now, Charlton, and sit there and say, wow, this is not what we thought it was going to be. If you took Baker Mayfield and you compared him to Russell Wilson, who was a third-round draft pick, Charlton,
yep,
same size of player, okay?
Yep.
Where was Russell Wilson as a rookie? Where was he as a second-year quarterback in the NFL? And if Baker Mayfield doesn't eclipse what Russell Wilson has done, is he a success or is he still learning?
Good point, Big C. Good point. I love bringing that out, Big C. Speaking of Westbrook, thinking of Wilson, Seahawks 30, Panthers 27. Might have been the best game of the day. In front of 74,000 in Carolina. Just looking at some of the numbers passing, Wilson 22 of 31, 339 yards. Cam Newton was 25 of 30. He threw one pick for 256 yards. And I think about that game showed two, former all-pro quarterbacks, league MVP quarterbacks. It came down to the wire, but Seattle's trending up and the Panthers are trending down. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Russell Wilson has always been a solid quarterback. We talked last week about Cam lacking a sense of urgency in the game, and we see that time and time again. And that's the most frustrating thing with me is watching Cam, is that he lacks urgency. I look at Russell Wilson. Russell has a sense of urgency about him in his operation of his offense. We see him hurrying up to the line of scrimmage, getting his players in place. Cam wants to make sure everyone is at the line of scrimmage, then he'll get up off the ground. He wants to make that grand entrance. And I think that's hurting his performance, Charlton, because he's not moving cohesively with the team. The Panthers are playing outstanding defense. Cam is keep putting them in problems, Charlton. I mean, and this was a great battle between these two quarterbacks. I mean, they were two titans out on the field, and it was great to watch from a fan perspective on this NFL weekend. There weren't many better games than that, Charlton.
That's a very good point, Big C. The Baltimore Ravens 34, the Oakland Raiders 17. And Jackson, again, there were a lot of people saying he should play defensive back or he should play wide receiver. Let's look at some of his numbers, 14-25. He had 2 picks, but those are off of tipped balls, 178 yards. But when you look at what he did in the game, as his rushing, you got to look at what he does rushing the ball, even though I don't want to see him run the ball too much. 11 rushes, 71 yards. That's better than 70% of the running backs in the league, Big C. So should he play defensive back? I think he's good at quarterback. Will he start over Flacco? I don't know. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, there were 5 rookie quarterbacks drafted in the first round, were they not?
Yep.
And he was the last one taken.
Sure was.
All of those other guys were highly touted. Think about it. You just talked about Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
You talked about Sam Darnold. You talked about Josh Allen. Who has a better record in the rookie season than Lamar Jackson?
Nobody.
You have to ask. I mean, you need to
Google it.
And text your buddies or whatever and say in type.
They're not my buddies.
Which one of those can't-miss quarterbacks, those first 4 quarterbacks that were NFL ready, will have a better rookie record than Lamar Jackson?
None of them.
John. It's amazing that every year, we looked at Mitch Trubisky last year with Chicago and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Who had the better record last year, Charlton, as a starting quarterback as a rookie?
Watson.
It was Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
But Mitch Trubisky, according to your buddies, couldn't miss. and the same thing
yeah.
Mr. Flynn said this year.
Yeah.
That Allen, big arm, best prepared for the NFL. Sam Darnold, ready to just step in and blow the league away, ready for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen, the most ready of all of them, Charlton.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, big attitude,
yeah.
great athlete, great competitor. Lamar Jackson. Maybe he should play defensive back. But damn,
Google it.
He's 2-0 as a starter in the NFL.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe we need to go out and start drinking some hot sauce.
And all I say, everybody that's listening to prognosticators and people that talk, and you say, well, mainstream this versus Big C Sports. Well, look, Google it. That's all we ask. Google it. You'll see Big C Sports has been on top of the game. And the mothership and all those other people, they're just telling you what they want you to hear. But we know you can trust Google, and you can also trust your own eyes. Big C, speaking of trusting your eyes, the Broncos 24, the Steelers 17. Big Ben can't see what color the Steelers uniforms are. He said the ball was tipped, but it was going to be picked twice in the end, Big C. He has a problem throwing picks, but I think they're still going to get 10 wins this season, the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what a way to lose. You said they have a hard time winning up at Mile High, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at what Denver has done in consecutive weeks, Charlton, they knocked off the San Diego Chargers, who are high flying.
The LA Chargers, yeah.
They turn the LA Chargers.
Yeah.
They turn around, knock off the Pittsburgh Steelers that have won 6 consecutive games. Both of those teams are on heaters.
Yeah.
But when you look at what Anthony, what they've done there in Denver defensively, they turned it up a little bit, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they got to keep the coach's job there, Charlton, because when you go out there and look at who's out there available on the coaching market, you got to restructure the whole team because as a general manager in Elway, you let the quarterbacks go that you have there.
Yeah.
And you bring in a last-minute quarterback. It takes time.
Yep.
To build the team around a quarterback. This is not Jacksonville where you had Blake Bortles around forever.
Right.
And you want to bench the guy. Is anybody talking about firing the coach in Minnesota? Your cousin hasn't had the greatest record this year in the league.
Right.
And if they end up with the same amount of wins, why would Anthony Lynn's job be on the hot seat, Joe?
Doesn't make any sense. Speaking of hot seat, you have the Panthers being, dumped by the Vikings last night, and Aaron Rodgers missing passes, and they're talking about McCarthy has to go. Did McCarthy play quarterback last night? I thought Aaron Rodgers was responsible for all that. I mean, Aaron's been a good quarterback, but he's also messed up and cost his own team some games. And I don't see him yelling at himself. At least look in the mirror first. What a coach told me one time, you point one finger at somebody that's 2 or 3 pointing back, but he only had a couple fingers. He lost one in a lawnmower accident. But I got the point there, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I look at this point, Charlton, with Aaron Rodgers last night and throughout the season.
Yeah.
They've lost 6 consecutive games on the road.
Was he quarterback?
So without being in the confines of Lambeau Field, he is totally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, there was 3 weeks ago where everybody was crying at Montgomery about you didn't give Aaron a chance in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Why do people keep talking about Aaron needs the ball in the last 2 minutes of the game? Did the first 58 not matter? Could he not muster enough points in the first 58 minutes of the game where the last 2 of the game didn't matter? Because last night, Johnson, he had 14 points at halftime, I believe.
Yeah.
So he had 30 more minutes to get 14 more points.
Yep.
How many points did they end up with?
Not enough to win, Big Z.
Okay, so
yeah.
No one said the last 30 minutes mattered.
Yeah.
He just needed the last 2.
Yeah.
So I guess he was going to make up point differential, Charlton, in the last 2 minutes of the game that he couldn't make up in the last 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, don't keep throwing the coach under the bus. He's not the one calling the audibles. Big C, the coach, 27, Dolphins 24. What a game! I'm riding Luck a little bit because he was hurt, but this shows everybody you can come back from some injuries, and that's what Andrew Luck did. It took a right down to the wire for them to win this game, passing Miami Tannehill 17-25, 204 yards. Luck was 30-37. He did throw 2 interceptions, but he had 343 yards. He started to finally push the ball downfield. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this has been a renaissance when you think about Andrew Luck. He was a guy that went, almost 2 years without playing quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
They brought him back sparingly, Charlton. They took their time. They didn't rush him back. We've seen so many athletes over the years rush back from injuries. You got to come play. All of a sudden, they get re-injured again, Charlton, and their careers is in peril at that point.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck is getting stronger and stronger as the weeks go by.
Yeah.
He has a coach that understands quarterbacks, Frank Wright, who was a backup quarterback in 4 Super Bowls for Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
He was offensive coordinator last year in Philadelphia when the backup quarterback came in and won the Super Bowl for him after Wentz went down. But he also helped develop Carson Wentz, who we see struggling this year. Nick Foles, the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
But, he has a head coach that understands it. He put the players in place, Charlton, that's going to benefit his quarterback. When you look at the scheme that he runs, most players want to come in and put all these speedy wideouts in.
Yep.
He knew that Andrew Luck lacked the arm strength that he did 3 years ago, Charlton. He surrounded him with a bunch of big tight ends that can catch the ball. And that's what has led to Andrew Luck's success. He doesn't have to push the ball down the field. He has these big targets, Charlton, that he can go to. And if you think about the success that they had in Philadelphia last year with Zach Ertz and Trey Burton at tight end, Charlton, look at that success in Indianapolis this year with Andrew Luck and his trio of tight ends.
That's very well said. Speaking of a quarterback in the Chargers, I got to keep saying L.A. Chargers because I keep thinking they're San Diego. L.A. Chargers 45, the Arizona Cardinals 10. Now, this is Josh Rosen, was an All-American at UCLA. Many of your friends said he's a can't-miss quarterback in the NFL. The Great White Hype. Well, the Great White Hype on Rosen, 12 of 19, 1 interception. Big C, 105 yards as a starting NFL quarterback. He's averaging 26 yards per quarter as an NFL starting quarterback, and Colin Kaepernick still can't get a job, Big C. And I look at this guy for the Chargers, almost said San Diego again. Rivers, what a game. 28 of 29. 28 of 29, 259 yards, Big C, with the Eric Ayala back in again.
Well, Charlton, you talk about 28 of 29. Look at 25 consecutive completions to start the game.
Yeah.
He had completed 25 passes, Charlton, before he had an incompletion. This is the greatest performance in NFL history as far as completion goes.
Amazing, yep.
And you think about Philip, this is not some teenager. This is a guy that's been around a long, long time, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, for him to go out and put out that performance, and I know you spoke highly of Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Who was one of those top 4 quarterbacks picked, I think, number 11 overall.
Yeah.
And I think on draft day, he said he was going to make, 10 teams? He was number 11, so there were 10 teams that passed him by. My math gets slow.
It's all right, I got you.
And he said he was going to make them all regret that they didn't draft him.
Yeah.
There were 10 teams that passed him by, and they were all going to regret that. I think they all sit back, had a beer, and laughed.
I think so, Big C. And we wish everybody well. But again, Big C Sports is just about Walter Cronkite, like the Edward R. Murrow Award. Just the facts. Google it. So when Big C Sports is saying this guy wasn't NFL ready, you can Google the shows. But the mothership and all the mainstream pundits were telling you this guy's a can't-miss NFL quarterback. Well, let Google tell you he was right. Was it Big C Sports? Are these people that don't know what they're talking about? And if we're wrong, we'll just Google it. You don't trust what I say, Google it. Big C, obviously we have a big game tonight in the NFL. A lot of people want to see what's going to happen between Texas the Texans and also the Tennessee Titans. And I want to just get your thoughts. Quarterbacks, Mariota and then Watson, both kind of mirror images, but they both have had to come through some injury. Just give me your thought on who you feel. Obviously, I think Watson has a better upside, but they're both very good. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, two tremendous young quarterbacks. You think about Mariota. He was drafted behind Winston.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, Charlton, in the first round. And you think about Watson, he was drafted behind Trubisky in the first round. Both of these quarterbacks, Charlton, have done exceptionally well. They've made the playoffs in Tennessee. Watson is waiting for that opportunity possibly this year. They're divisional foes. So the winner of this game, Charlton, will have an up hand in the playoff race.
Yeah.
Houston has won 6 consecutive games. They both offer a lot of mobility. I think Watson may have the stronger arm and better release. Even though your buddies, Machine Kai, said he was slow and held the ball too long, and he could not read the defense.
Yeah.
I think his math score is pretty high, and his reading literature has been pretty good since he's been in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I like Houston in this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're playing with broken hearts and heavy hearts tonight, Charlton, with the loss of their owner, McNair.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week. But this is a team with a tremendous defense, Charlton, that's been playing lights out the last 6 weeks. It's been dominating performances. Great receiving core, Charlton. It's hard to keep up with anybody.
Yes.
And I think that's the Titans' Achilles heel, Charlton, is their secondary. Malcolm Butler, I see them going after him a lot tonight, Charlton.
Yep.
And I don't see that Tennessee running game being as strong as they have been in the past performances.
Well, I look forward to that game, Big C. I want to close out with some college football talk because of that game you brought up with LSU and Texas A&M. We talk about the health of athletes. At some point in time, you got to call it. And I remember I was in the press box at Cal Berkeley when Coach Toomey was coaching Arizona Wildcats back in the day, and they had a game like that against Cal Berkeley. They went to several overtimes, which caused the NCAA to kind of change some of the rules. I would say it's like this. If you go give both teams a chance to score, they've already played 4 quarters, give them a chance to score. The team that scores second, you got to go for 2. That would solve a lot of it, Big C. And then if they just can't have it so that both teams have an equal chance in the overtime. Your equal opportunity came in regulation. I don't want to see someone get hurt because of fatigue, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, these young men were gassed. You can see because you allow one timeout in each overtime segment.
Yeah.
There were players laying on their back, Charlton, trying to gather themselves.
Yeah.
The human athlete can only put out so much. And when you think about the exploitation of the college athlete, and people will say this was the greatest and most exciting game that they ever saw.
Yep.
But it's also physically damaging to the young athletes, Charlton, who have to go out there and participate.
Yeah.
Because most injuries in athletics come is when you're tired and you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
You see boxers getting knocked out when they're tired. You see these kickboxers getting choked out when they're tired.
Yeah.
You see athletes injured when they're tired late in the games, Charlton. That's the peril that you put these young men in this 74-72 game.
Yeah.
What's 74 and 72 got to do with football?
Nothing.
It's something that you shouldn't have to do. You shouldn't have to see a football game where there's 146 points scored, Charlton.
Yep.
You shouldn't.
Yep.
Not in modern times, regardless of how great offenses are these days.
Yeah.
But for the NCAA not to think of the health and welfare of these young players. You know, they put in the overtime rule, I believe, in 1979 or 1980 in Division I AA. Major college football 1A adapted it a few years later, Charlton. But when you look at it and you say, okay, you have an opportunity, they put the ball on the 25.
Yeah.
Move the ball back to the 40. The 25 is too close. Move it back to the 40. If you don't make it, you got to punt it or go for a field goal.
Yeah.
That's going to eliminate players getting hurt, Charlton.
Yep.
But you get the ball at the 25, you're already in field goal range.
Yeah.
You already are.
Yep.
This offense real easy. But it makes it too long as these young men were put in the harm's way too long on Saturday night.
I think that's a good point. They got to look at it again, Big C. I want to touch on some college football before we close. And obviously, you look at the top 10 programs. They got Alabama number 1, Clemson number 2, Notre Dame 3, Georgia 4, Oklahoma 5, followed by Ohio State 6, Central Florida 7, Michigan number 8, Texas number 9, and Florida 10. But I want to just get your thoughts on a couple of these games. Number 1, Alabama 52-21 over Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the game was never close as what it seems there in the final score with the 21 points.
Yeah.
But, Alabama was going to be a team that was going to go undefeated this year, Charlton. You talk about the greatest offense that Nick Saban has ever had in all of his coaching tenure.
Yeah.
To have an offense that can produce at this level, great receivers, outstanding running backs, Charlton, a very prolific quarterback. So it's going to be hard pressed. They're going to have a tremendous game coming up against Georgia this weekend in the SEC Championship, Charlton. Georgia has moved up to the number 4 position.
Yeah.
So the winner of this game, Charlton, is an automatic seed in the playoffs. The true question is, if Georgia beats Alabama, Charlton, does the SEC once again get 2 teams in the playoffs? And do you leave 2 high-powered offenses out if that happens?
Well, that's all fair and love and war. We know that, Big C. Ohio State, Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh, we know who the better coach is. We know who has the better talent. But I think Michigan may have the prettier helmets, but I do like the Buckeye stickers, and I think a lot of guys get a lot of Buckeye stickers on the helmet with a 62-39 beatdown. That's anathema in Woody Hayes country. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Jim Harbaugh, Charlton, has never beaten Urban Meyer. Actually, Michigan has lost the last 7 consecutive games. He is the only Wolverine coach to never beat the Buckeyes. The only head coach to never beat the Buckeyes in football. So, when you think about where his career has gone, I mean, to have 10 wins on a season, Charlton, is not a bad season.
No.
It's not. But, it all comes down to, can you beat Ohio State? That's what they live for. Throw out the rest of the season, but can you beat Ohio State? I mean, this game for Urban Meyer, I don't know if this is a reprieve. I mean, this is an Ohio State team that everybody thought that they would see all year long.
Yeah.
But if it comes down to the bowl committee, Charlton, can you overlook the 29-point loss to Purdue? That's the biggest hiccup in Ohio State's schedule. Dwayne Haskins, the greatest single-season quarterback in Big Ten history, Charlton.
Yeah.
Most yards passing in a season, most touchdown passes in a season. And to be 10-1 as a starter, 11-1 as a starter, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's an outstanding first year as a starter at Ohio State.
Yeah, he was 19 of 30 passes, 318 yards, 5 touchdowns in the big win over their rivals, Big C. Really love the way Ohio State plays when they decide that they want to play. Another thought, just some more college football games, Big C. We talked about Georgia, and they're right there in the thought. I mean, maybe 4 or 5, who knows? 45-21 over crosstown rival Georgia Tech. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's an in-state rivalry, Charlton, that you always get up for. This is a game that they handled. They basically throttled Georgia Tech. I mean, the game was over at halftime, really at the end of the first quarter. The game was over. So they were on cruise control, Charlton. They were looking at that SEC championship game against Alabama. So they wanted to keep players healthy and be ready for that. And it's going to be a high-flying game down in Atlanta at that Mercedes-Benz Stadium that they have down there.
Yeah, it should be in the next 5 minutes, Big C, next 5 minutes. Florida State and Florida. I mean, that used to be the game, but Florida with a big rout, 41-14. I know Florida State's trying to rebuild, but that's a game that they really got beat down. You have Penn State, Nittany Lions, 38-3 over Maryland. That same Maryland team beat Texas. If Texas knocks off Oklahoma, will that hurt? I mean, obviously it's going to hurt anyone's chances of saying, hey, we beat Maryland. But I think just as far as the top 4 is going to be something else. But everybody's still trying to position for a bowl game in different bowls, Big C. But I just think that's a big win for Penn State. They were struggling throughout the season. Now, I want to get your thoughts because Northwestern, I think they've only lost once in the Big Ten over the last couple of years. They're playing Ohio State for the Big Ten championships. They're not going anywhere should they win this game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're not going anywhere if they were lucky enough to win this game.
Yeah.
But they're not going to win this game. You're talking about athletes versus football players. That's what you're going to have for Ohio State with all these athletes. And Northwestern has some football players.
Yeah.
This is a mismatch of titanic proportion, Charlton, when you look at that. When you look at what Ohio State did to Michigan, who had the best defense in the country, Charlton, statistically. And when Dwayne Haskins is hot, as we saw, you can't play against Ohio State. Charlton, they're playing indoors on AstroTurf in Lucas Oil Stadium. This is a game that Northwestern got to hope that Ohio State doesn't hang 60 on them.
Yeah, they got to keep hope alive for that one, Big C. I want to ask you just a couple more thoughts on the college football. We have Miami beating up on Pittsburgh 24-3. Not the same Miami team we used to see from back in the day, but that Syracuse team, boy, if they just had a couple of more things go their way outside of that Notre Dame game, they would be looking at just about a loss, Big C. They took Clemson down to the wire, 42-21 over Boston College, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Eric Dungey means so much to that team. Dino Favor's done a great job coaching up there. But injuries, can siderail any program, yep. Charlton. And that's the one thing. When you look at the teams that are the top-ranked teams in the country, Charlton, they haven't been plagued by injuries.
No.
They've stayed healthy for the most part. They've had little nicks here and there, but their starters have stayed intact.
Yeah.
And that's what's kept them in the top of the heap.
Yeah, it's kept them there, Big C. Utah will play Washington. Utah ranked number 17, 9-3, defeated BYU 35-27. The Washington Huskies, preseason champion, at least preseason favorite for the Pac-12 championship. They may win it, but they're only 9-3. An upset win in the Apple Cup, 28-15 over Washington State. Now, the Pac-12 championship will be played in Santa Clara, San Francisco. I think this game, and I know they have contracts, but this game will lead the discussion to having the Pac-12 championship at a home site, because a 70,000-seat stadium may be lucky to get 50,000 for the Pac-12 championship. Flying in from Utah was going to be, snowy weather up in Utah, coming in from Salt Lake City, and then Washington coming down to California. I don't think it's a good look for the Pac-12 that they're going to play it in a stadium that's not even about 80% full. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, it won't be 80% full. Only the lower bowl will have seats occupied, Charlton. They'll be lucky to get 35,000. And that's the contrast. When you look at the bowl committee, when they're talking about bringing teams.
Yeah.
But when you look at this Alabama-Georgia game that's going to be played, Charlton, in Atlanta, there's not going to be an empty seat anywhere, an empty aisle in that stadium. Then you contrast that to the Pac-12 game, Charlton. Well, you'll be lucky to get 37,000 people in the stadium in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
That's what the bowl committee looks at. They look at the quality of wins. They look at the quality of following that you get from a fan's perspective. And when you can't fill a championship stadium, and even the most part, Chuck, none of those teams fill up their own home stadium.
No.
That's when people start crying on a national level, saying, well, you'll take two SEC teams. At a Georgia home game, Charlton, always sold out at that stadium.
Yeah.
Ohio State, always sold out. Oklahoma, always sold out. Alabama, even the scalpers can't sell a ticket because the stadium's full.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when people start crying about, well, the Pac-12 gets no consideration, and you look at the same teams. If you go back to the origination of the bowl football playoffs, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you look at the teams that's been in. People cried a couple years ago when Ohio State got in after Penn State had beat them, and Penn State went out and played a fantastic Rose Bowl against USC.
Yeah.
And Ohio State had got throttled. Look at Michigan State a few years ago when they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten playoff and got shut out in the playoff.
That's right.
So, you got to look at who's going to bring people to the dance.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy the tickets? Are we going to have a stadium that's sold out, or are we going to have a stadium that's only 70% full? So?
Well, that's something I think the Pac-12 is going to look at. I just think as part of the whole thing, the Mountain West will have Boise State and Fresno State, and those two teams are playing for the Mountain West Conference Championship, North and South Division. And Boise State ranked number 20. They're 10-2 in the season. They defeated Utah State 33-24. And Fresno State's number 23 in the country, 10-2. They knocked off San Jose State 33-13, their rival at Bulldog Stadium. But we'll see. They're playing that game. They have a home team playing the championship game, so they don't have to worry about traveling and wondering how they're going to get people to come out to the stadium. I just think that's important, and I think the Pac-12 will soon follow that same direction. Final 2 minutes, NBA action. Milwaukee at Charlotte. That's underway right now. Minnesota at Cleveland. Houston will be at Washington, San Antonio at Chicago, Boston at New Orleans, Indiana at Utah, and Orlando at Golden State. Orlando just knocked off the Lakers last night, and LeBron James. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the team that had an opportunity to win, and that's the Lakers. But you had a young and upcoming team in Orlando that doesn't care about you're supposed to be the greatest player in the league, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's proven night after night in the NBA it's about streaks. I mean, you're going to win some games, you're going to lose some games. But it's about putting together streaks, 6, 7, 10-game winning streaks, Charlton, that keep the elite teams the elite. You know, everyone jumped on Golden State last week saying the team was in disarray. You know, a win stops all of that and cures all ills. But when you look at where the Lakers are, and compared to where they were last year, Charlton, this is night and day in this organization. LeBron James has made a momentous change with the Lakers. He has them relevant again in the NBA.
He does that. He tends to do that wherever he goes. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, tomorrow the bowl committee comes out. You know, you think about it, in 2016, Notre Dame went 4-8, and there were a lot of cries for Brian Kelly's head at Notre Dame. Right now, Notre Dame is sitting number 3 in the polls, Charlton, with a 12-0 record. They don't have a conference championship game to play in. They're the only team right now guaranteed to be in the playoffs in the in football. Think about this. They're the only team with a guaranteed seeding right now. This is what's good about college football. When you think about Notre Dame being relevant, Charlton, because they have one of the largest national fan bases in the country.
They do, and I'm sure they will travel. Speaking of traveling, you can travel with us too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.